I'm Dr. BALA'S. If whatever food we take, definitely it will come under either carbohydrate or protein or fat. That alone is not things. Apart from these three macronutrients, we need micronutrients and vitamins and minerals. There are a lot of misconceptions, myths about vitamins. And two such important vitamins are vitamin B12 and vitamin D. Starting from the source, the absorption, the digestion, everything happens in an unique way. That is why these two vitamins become very important. There are no specific symptoms for these two vitamins. Everybody talks about these vitamins and we start to believe everyone. There are lots of myths about these two vitamins. I happened to see one or two videos in this YouTube, and one person says it will be absorbed only through the back. That is why people lie down on the beach showing their back to the sunlight. Another person says it is absorbed through this navel, the belly button. Another person says the right time to get this vitamin D from sunlight is early morning and late evening. And finally, we start believing that the sun rays has vitamin D. That is what everybody says. In fact, they say the source of vitamin D is food, supplements in the form of capsules or tablets, and sunlight. This is what people say. If that be the case, people who are exposed to sunlight for more than 5 to 6 hours, the road makers, the agricultural laborers, people who work with bare body, especially in a country like India, don't you think that they are getting more vitamin than others? And even though it's a vitamin, don't you think that it may cause some toxic effects? Well, definitely it has to. If the claim is true, the sunlight has vitamin D. And people also talk about the excess vitamin exposure to sunlight may cause sunburn and even skin cancer. So what is the myth behind all this claim? Another factor is India is a tropical country. You get more sunlight and direct sunlight. The intensity is also high. No Indian should suffer from vitamin D deficiency, but unfortunately, about 60 to 70% of Indians are deficient. So our doubt is whether the sunlight has vitamin D or not. 1. If it has, as claimed by people, how much of vitamin D is there in sunlight? Can you measure the quantity of vitamin D present? If you take a food, you will have a definite quantity in units. This fish has got this much of international units of vitamin D. If you take a capsule or a tablet, then this capsule contains 10,000 international units or 60,000 international units, like that. That means you know when you take a food how much of vitamin D you are taking. When you take a capsule supplement, you know how much of vitamin D you are taking. There are foods which are fortified with this vitamin because many people are deficient in this. So instead of asking them to take a medicine, if you add it with a food without their knowledge, they start taking this, then we are helping them in a way. In that also it is mentioned this is fortified with vitamin D. So what I want to tell is, in all these things, how much of vitamin D you are taking, you know pretty well. But when you when you get exposed to sunlight, you don't know how much of vitamin D you are getting from the sun if the sun has vitamin D. So, food is a natural source of vitamin D, and capsules and tablets are supplements. Can you say a sun as a source? A source means it should contain that particular substance. So, there are a lot of questions about how much of time we should be exposed. Which part of the body gets more of sun rays? What happens in a country where there is, for even more than 6 months, there is no sunlight? What will happen to them? Can I get the sunlight by just sitting behind a window through the glasses if I am not able to go outside? If I am exposed to sunlight for a longer time, what are these problems I may face? These are all the questions which strike us when we think of this sunlight and vitamin D. The final thing is there is no vitamin D in sunlight. Then why we link the sunlight with vitamin D and why we want to expose ourselves? We don't have a specific symptom or sign for this vitamin D deficiency. Only during a routine checkup you find out that they were deficient. Actually, what happens with this sunlight and vitamin D and our body? When you are exposed to sunlight, the sunlight helps for the synthesis of vitamin B12 in our body. How do they do? The sunlight falls on your skin. You are exposed to sunlight. Your skin contains 7-dehydrocholesterol. During this production or synthesis of cholesterol, this is just a precursor to a cholesterol. This 7-dehydrocholesterol, it's called a provitamin. The sun converts this 7-dehydrocholesterol into what is called a previtamin. And this previtamin is converted into the next form, which is vitamin D3, that is cholecalciferol. And this D3 is not an active form. And this conversion takes about from hours sometimes to 2 or 3 days. So the concept that sunlight has vitamin D is wrong. The fact is the sunlight helps in the conversion of 7-dehydrocholesterol. So there is something in the sun rays, which causes this conversion. What is that? After all, it is rays. So in these rays, you have two types of rays. One is the ultraviolet rays, another is the infrared rays. Infrared rays is a one which produces the heat. You feel hot sun because of this infrared light. What happens to the ultraviolet rays? We are concerned about that. Ultraviolet rays, based on the wavelength of, we have three types of ultraviolet rays: UVA, UVB, and UVC. These are three types of ultraviolet rays. These UV rays are like a double-edged weapon. They help in the conversion of this dehydrocholesterol into vitamin D3. At the same time, it may cause harm to us also, starting from a simple sunburn to a skin cancer even. So in this UVA, UVB, and UVC, what are the effects of these three types? UVA, 95% of this UVA waves reach the earth. That means it crosses the atmosphere, including the ozone layer. So 95% of this reaches the. Then what is the effect of these rays on our body? simply telling aging of the skin. Aging means wrinkles, and it gives the aging look, the tanning. It may even damage the DNA, and overexposure can even lead to a cancer, skin cancer. And this does not help in the conversion process, that is, in the production of vitamin D. If you take UVB, 95% are absorbed. They don't reach the earth. Only 5% reaches the earth. And this 5% is very important for us because this is the one which helps in the conversion of this provitamin or previtamin into vitamin D3. It may cause sunburn, especially for fair-skinned people. And overexposure along with this UVA may cause even the other damages and the risks. And if you take the UVC, the highest energy producing rays, and but fortunately they don't reach the earth. Very extremely harmful rays, UVC. So even though sunlight is not a source, it helps in the conversion. So we need some exposure apart from this natural sources like food and all, apart from sun supplements. Sunlight very easily available and you can expose this. But as I told you, adequate exposure is important. Overexposure causes some problem. So what are the factors which affects this absorption? How much of time we should get ourselves exposed? What is the time which when we get the maximum benefit? The first thing is the time of the day, the season, and even the country, the latitude. In a country like India, you have a direct sunlight. Well, what is the time of the day where you can expose yourself? The intensity of the UV rays is very less before 9 and after 4. So the best time is between 10 to 3 p.m. The intensity of UVB is more. So even for a short time exposure is enough to get enough sun exposure for this conversion. And that too for a fair-skinned persons, less time is enough because only fair-skinned people get this sunburn and all. Now the question is, why fair skin? The dark-skinned people have got the pigment melanin. Melanin is the one which protects people who are dark-skinned. That is why people who are working in sunlight mostly have dark skin, more of melanin pigment. Even though they are exposed for hours together, they don't get the problem. But for example, if you take the vitiligo, albinism, where you have very, very less melanin, they get always a sort of sore somewhere in the body. And repeated exposure to this sunlight for a longer time, fair-skinned people, repeated sunburns may lead to skin cancer. So this is timing and duration. If you take just 10 to 15 minutes, not every day, 3 to 4 days in a week is enough for you to get enough exposure. And what other factors that affect age? As your age advances, this conversion process doesn't take place to the required amount. So another factor is age. And which part? That's another big question. What is the percentage of skin to be exposed? But for that you should know what is the percentage of skin exposed when you wear a shirt, a full arm, a pant, something like that. We'll talk about that later. How much of skin exposed, what is the percentage of skin exposed, etc. And another factor, use of sunscreen. When you think that you will become dark and if you want to apply sunscreen, definitely Your skin is protected from the sun rays, but the negative point is you are not exposed to sun rays directly. So definitely you may have the chance of conversion is very less. The amount of conversion to vitamin D by this rays is very less when you use sunscreen. Overexposure, definitely people may think I may get skin burn, I may get cancer and all. There is a self-protective mechanism inside in your body. Even though you are exposed to, there is a mechanism in which your body protects you from this overexposure by a different metabolic pathway. We'll talk about it later. So even though it is called a sunshine vitamin, it is not vitamin D directly from sunlight, but it helps in the conversion. And I told India is 60 to 70% deficient. Why? People say we don't expose ourselves to sunlight enough. That may be one of the reasons. An important reason why we people get is pollution, the atmospheric pollution. The sun travels the ozone layer, the atmosphere, everything. Then only it reaches the earth. This atmospheric pollution prevents the sun rays, the penetration. So the amount, the quantity of sun rays reaching the earth is less, even though we are directly exposed to sunlight. That is because of the atmospheric pollution. And in vitamin D, you have lots and lots of interesting factors. You have ergocholesterol, you have cholecalciferol, you have dihydrocholesterol, you have calcidiol, and you have calcitriol, etc. All these are forms of vitamin D only. These are all some interesting factors. And among these, which form we measure when we do a blood test? That is another question. And what are the organs involved in the process of conversion into various forms like this? And which form is very active? And which organ is involved in converting this vitamin into an active form? Is vitamin D is a hormone or just a vitamin or both? All these are interesting questions. Then, the signs and symptoms of deficiency. Apart from that, when you want to take vitamin D as a supplement, how much should be taken? How frequently should be taken? How long should be taken? These things, there are lots and lots of factors in treating a deficiency like this. How many international units you should take? The daily requirement is just 600 to 800 international units. But when you go for a supplement, it is available in 10,000 units, 60,000 units. How many times? Where is 600 and where is 60,000? Why this much? All these are interesting factors. In the coming videos, we will look into this also. In this video, you are clarified that sunlight does not contain vitamin D. It is a substance, a precursor of cholesterol 7-dehydrocholesterol, which gets converted into vitamin D with the help of ultraviolet B present in the sunlight. This is the bottom line. Shall we meet with some other topic and also some more information about this vitamin D? I am Dr. BALA'S. Thank you.